The Pontifical Biblical Commission, in its document on the anthropology of the Bible, takes Genesis chapters 2 and 3 as the starting point. Chapter 1 of the document explored the human being created by God, made from matter and given life by the breath of God. Chapter 2 is entitled The Human Being in the Garden. 3 topics are considered: the food provided for the human being, the work to be done, and the presence of the animals. These themes are derived from Genesis 2, 8 to 20. They are topics of profound contemporary relevance and provide important background before the Commission goes on in chapter 3 to consider the multiple shape of human relationships, and in chapter 4, the crucial issues of sin and salvation. In Genesis 2 verse 8, we come across the surprising statement that God planted a garden in Eden in the east, and there put the man he had shaped. This must be paired with verse 15, where God places the human being in the garden to work it and keep it. Considering in more detail the issue of food, the Commission writes, "In our days, the food issue takes on dramatic proportions for many poor populations due to huge natural disasters, but above all because of violence and the inequalities inflicted by those in power." Paragraph 76. The theme of food is raised in Genesis 2:16, when the human being is allowed to eat of all but one of the trees God has planted. And in Genesis 1:29, where similar provision is made by God, but without the exception. The taking of the forbidden fruit in Genesis 3 is given as the reason why to work the soil becomes laborious. Similarly, in Genesis 4, after the murder of Abel, Cain will struggle to obtain food from the earth. We will return to the theme of sin in chapter 4. In the stories of the patriarchs and matriarchs of Israel, there is famine, though it is not seen as a punishment. The scarcity is instead an opportunity for wisdom and benevolence towards other human beings. Paragraph 80. Abraham offers hospitality to strangers and is blessed with a son. In the story of Joseph, in the closing chapters of the book of Genesis, a difficult situation turns into a favorable opportunity for good. The evil done to Joseph by his brothers facilitates the good he does by providing food for the survival of his people. The traditions of the wandering in the desert, where the fragility and need of human beings are emphasized, show that God provides for the people despite sin and rebellion. Physical food is also symbolic of the deeper needs of human beings. For human beings do not live on bread alone. Deuteronomy 8. In their wide-ranging exploration of the human situation, it is no surprise that food is often mentioned in the wisdom writings. with a repeated topic of moderation in eating and drinking. The Psalms speak of the spiritual food that God provides. But most importantly, the prophets preach against excess and the denial of food to the needy, because the rich are oblivious of their need. The prophets seek to provoke a change of lifestyle, not only through a dignified sobriety, but above all by practical works of justice, which involve sharing with the hungry poor. Paragraph 93. The teaching of Jesus often mentions food. Paragraph 96 reads, "In the parable of the Last Judgment, Jesus will indicate feeding the hungry and giving the thirsty a drink as the first condition for admittance into the kingdom of heaven. Perfection, which coincides with the path of a full life, consists in offering all that one possesses in an act of love. Christ himself takes up the symbolism of bread as a life-giving gift of God when, in the context of Passover, he places before his disciples the practice of the Eucharist. This provides a new way of celebrating the Passover of liberation and life. Paragraph 98. In the New Testament, providing bread for the community becomes a regular preoccupation, as illustrated in Acts and in the letters of St. Paul. The structure of the church will thus be permanently marked by the service to be provided to those in need of food. Finally, the New Testament will reach its climax with the wedding supper of the Lamb. Working and keeping the land are the first task entrusted to human beings. Work is clearly not the result of sin, even though it is often seen as a sort of condemnation. It is God who shows the way by working and creating all that is good. This does not mean that work is not burdensome, but work is for the common good, to be performed in wisdom and love. Human beings are the custodians of creation who must not subvert the Creator. The Commission writes, "The close relationship between the Creator and the earth, formed by God as a gift useful to human beings, permits one also to understand that every act that devastates creation is an offense against the Lord." 108. The commandment to keep the earth is in fact a call to love. The Commission concludes, "The scrupulous maintenance of the ecosystem requires a creative commitment supported by love for human beings, both for the present poor who already suffer from the greed of the powerful few, but also for those innocent people who risk coming to live in a land devastated by the foolish neglect of our generation." Work is then the task given by God to human beings, and it imitates the work of God throughout Genesis 1 and highlighted in Genesis 2:8. After being expelled from the garden of God, the human being has to cultivate the soil 3:23. But the land has become cursed and will yield brambles and thistles, and pain will accompany the struggle to produce food. 3:17-19. New kinds of work emerge. Cain is the first builder of a city. But cities are ambiguous, places of shelter and community, but also, like Babel, symbols of human arrogance, and, like Sodom, of violence towards foreigners. In the book of Exodus, the work of construction appears in its most brutal and most offensive form. 112. Biblical tradition will adopt the image of these working conditions as the symbol of slavery from which the Lord will free his people, and memory of this will be the basis of the legislation concerning human work. Foremost within this legislation is the commandment to observe the Sabbath. The Sabbath commandment lies at the heart of the Ten Commandments and is found in two forms. In Exodus 20, the motivation for the Sabbath rest is that the Creator rested on the Sabbath. Human beings will do the same. Deuteronomy 5, by contrast, emphasizes freedom from slavery. 5:15. Remember that you were once a slave in Egypt, and that the Lord your God brought you out of there with strong hand and outstretched arm. This is why the Lord your God has commanded you to keep the Sabbath day. The meaning of the Sabbath was not always understood in its fullness, with the emphasis being limited to abstention from work. The healings of Jesus brought out the full meaning of this sacred day by freeing those who were in slavery from a stronger power than that of Pharaoh. The Sabbath speaks of freedom. Further prescriptions take forward the spirit of the Sabbath. Such are the sabbatical year and the command to do no heavy work on feast days, so that feasts are like an annual Sabbath. The Commission affirms that in our own day it is necessary to rediscover the spirit of the Sabbath. In a world in which the logic of economic gain threatens the dignity of people and the quality of family relationships. 117. The Christian Sunday, recalling the salvation brought by the risen Jesus, should display not only the primacy of God, but also the dignity of the human being. On the Sabbath, there is an anticipation of the Lord's Day, when true freedom and solidarity will be shared by all. There are other laws concerning work in the Torah. Debt slaves are to be treated with kindness, and on release at the end of the 7th year, provision should be made for their future. Wages are to be paid on the day of work. The link between work and prayer is significantly developed in the book of Sirach. For him, the activity of the manual worker is prayer. The Psalms show a peaceful acceptance of daily toil, which serves to provide the bread human beings need, while God continues, even in their sleep, to provide what is needed. God pours gifts on the beloved while they sleep. Psalm 127. The wisdom literature in general praises hard work. We find forthright condemnations of the laziness which damages the person, causes poverty, and ultimately leads to death. Laziness and foolishness go together. The prophets too have their contribution to make. Their relentless struggle against idolatry is expressed particularly in their condemnation of the work of making idols, to which divine power is then attributed. They also voice severe criticism of activity which violates justice. The prophets also scrutinize public works, grandiose projects which give prestige to rulers. Solomon and Rehoboam impose harsh servitude, reminiscent of slavery in Egypt. 1 Kings 12. Amos condemns Samaria for cramming their palaces with violence and extortion, while Micah reprimands the leaders who build Zion with blood and Jerusalem with iniquity. Jesus, of course, is involved in the world of work and becomes a craftsman. He calls disciples away from various activities for the work of the gospel. He will use workers as images in his parables about the sower, the laborers, the woman who needs. Paul insists on the duty of work and presents himself as a model to be imitated. He chooses to support himself with the work of his hands. In this way, he can stress his freely given apostolic service. And so to animals as helpers. Genesis 2:18 has God express the need of a helper for the human being. But such a need will only be fulfilled with the creation of the woman. We return to this in chapter 3. The Commission states, if the Bible assumes the centrality of human beings, presenting it as a feature of God's design, it does not, however, attribute to them the right to exercise a despotic control over other creatures. 139. Genesis 9:10, in fact, speaks of a covenant with every living creature that is with you, birds, cattle, and every wild animal with you. In the time after the flood, animals can be used for food, provided there is no blood in the meat. Genesis 9:4. Cruel and exploitative behavior is wrong, but animals can still be of service to human beings. According to Scripture, animals are firstly a help for life. Paragraph 142 reads, human beings are not only nourished by animals with milk and meat, eggs and honey, but they also obtain wool for their clothing and hides for various needs. Animals also assist in the work of the fields. The horse is used in war. The dog provides companionship. Furthermore, animals provide instruction. Some animals show a capacity for discernment. The donkey of Balaam is more aware than the one who rides on it. While the creation stories show no sign of threat from wild animals, in Genesis 3, the danger of the snake to human beings is illustrated. The promise of the prophets is that there can be a universal reconciliation when the wolf will live with the lamb. Isaiah 11:6. Animals are also of service in ancient worship. When the prophets criticize such sacrificial rites, they target the exterior nature of the acts, especially when human behavior, which is apparently laudable, shows profound injustice. The sacrifice of the new covenant is that of Jesus himself, offered once and for all people. Paragraph 148, the new rite not only abolishes the ancient sacrifices forever, but also symbolically suggests the end of violence, because Christ is peace, and in him everything has been reconciled. Chapter 2 of our document, then, with the themes of food, work, and animals, opens up a wide-ranging exploration of multiple biblical passages.